Hey guys, how you going? We're going to talk contraction and expansion. So contraction is like coming down, saving, protecting, contracting. So you are like going from this position to this position. Yeah. So contracting, not just physically, but in life. Contracting is going to a position of fear and defense as opposed to expansion, which is going from this position to this position, like physically, but also energetically. And energetically, don't get worried about the woo-woo word, all right? But generally speaking, going to a position of courage and openness and welcoming and acceptance and, all that stuff. So I want to see where you're at in relation to, now we can do this macro and we can do this micro. We can do it big and we can do it small. So if I ask you the question, do you feel like in life, this is pretty big, right? So we start big. In your life, day-to-day life, if you had to like think about your life, would you say that you are in a state of expansion and like, woof, yes, let's go life, let's go, let's like kill it? Or would you say that I'm in a state of contraction, I'm concerned, I'm worried, I'm fearful about this and that, and I'm defending my position constantly and I'm down, right? So you can see that I'm saying the words, but I'm also executing the body language in and around it, okay? So good question. In life, when you think about your life, just sit for a minute and consider your life and ask yourself the question, am I in an expansive state with my life, or am I in a contracting state in my life right now? Now, you can be expansive in some areas and contracting in other areas, which is an interesting practice, because maybe this is a good thing to do at the end of a meditation, is to, you do a 20-minute medi and then just sit for a bit, have a notepad, and you have on one side, do a T-bar and have contracting, and then have like expansion and then contracting. You can say, what are the positive things? But it has I feel like it hits different. Positive versus negative can be very, I don't know, it has a different impact. So whereas contracting versus expanding hits completely different. Now, at the end of a meditation, you can draw a T-bar and you can go, so what are the parts of my world that I feel like I'm expansive in? So let's break down expansive. Let's unpack it a little bit. What's expansive? That whole sort of thing is quite courageous, right? Like as soon as we say the word expansive, I'm like, boom. I'm like, right, expansive. So it's kind of confident, isn't it? It's kind of confident. It's kind of out there. It's brave. It's courageous. It's like, it's letting it flow. You know what I mean? I'm stepping in and I'm stepping up, and I'm a full believer in what I'm doing, and the good is coming my way, and I'm proud, and I'm, it's kind of joyful and fulfillment and giving and all that. So I don't know. Every time I say it, I want to go boom. I want to go hands out. I want to like go woof, So that's expansion for me. So for me doing these videos, I feel expansion. I feel like crazy power, like great coming through me and wanting to express, and those are things. I'm not talking to you like this. I'm not contracted and telling you, although I could, if I was talking about maybe a triggered story or something where I'd experienced trauma, I could be potentially delivering that in a contracted way. Yeah, so unpacking the words expansive, like that, and then contracting. So for me, it's a fear state. I feel like it's a defensive state. It's like everything is coming down to protect the center. And I guess sometimes we need to protect, but it's also towards, I feel that it's like a fear state. It's just potentially escaping something, and it's like contracting, having your head in the sand, kind of like, I don't want to move out of this position. I'm too scared to move out of this position, so I'm contracting. I don't want to change. I want to protect what I've got. And so that is the kind of feel or the energy, whatever, around contracting. What I think is a really good thing to ask ourselves always is, in any moment, in any activity, in anything that you might be doing, like macro or micro, is, am I doing this in an expansive state, or am I doing this in a contracted state? I was giving a presentation the other day where I had to do some sales training to a whole bunch of people, and I could tell that I was coming off boom like that. I was like, whew. What I was talking about to them, I was highly passionate about. I was feeling good. I was feeling energized, well slept, and I was really like tapping into some sort of stuff and hitting it out. I could feel that I was impacting people, and I was in a really highly expansive state. people at the end of that thing said, far out, man. Like that was unbelievable what happened today. They were saying the stuff that they learned and the stuff that they got from it, and it was awesome. And then I think it was the next day, I could feel myself in a different meeting contracting. I could feel myself like coming down and coming into a protected, I'm doubtful, I'm not sure of what I'm saying. I didn't have a good sleep that night. I was feeling on the defense and I was protecting my position, and I could see all parts of me going down to this kind of fear and worry that I'd be, exposed defending my position and things like that. So I think what's the lesson? There's no lesson. It's just really acknowledging. And we don't always have to learn out of every discussion that we have. It can just be a discussion and an open-ended conversation and an experience, which is what I'm doing really in this one, is just acknowledging. I think the question is, in anything you can stop and you can ask yourself, am I being expansive in this? And am I in an expansion state where I'm like delivering and receiving like this? Or am I contracting? And then the next question beyond that, I feel, would be, is this good for me? There could be a negative of being too expansive and not listening to people, that you're too overpowering and you're not watching and you're not seeing that your audience is not with you potentially. So you could be, maybe that expansive could be turned into overconfidence potentially as well. So yeah, this is an inquiry, is to, in any position, in any state, in any moment, am I being expansive and powerful and open in this state, or am I contracting, or am I in fear? And then, does this serve me? And then what am I going to do about it, basically? So they're the little inquiries that we can ask ourselves along the way. Does it serve me? And then what am I going to do about it? Am I going to continue to be in this state, or do I need to do something in order to get myself out of that state, in order to get into a better state? So yeah, it leads to the actions that are required to get on the path in order to turn it into something potentially more positive or more effective or more performance orientated. Take this as not so much a lesson, but an opportunity to ask yourself a question around it, or several questions around this, and then to journal about this stuff, or to take like instant action around stuff in order to be able to do it. So my instant action out of feeling contracted was telling myself that night I needed to get to bed early. I needed to make sure that I wasn't, I was eating well, and, making sure that I was going to have a very good sleep so that I could be expansive for the next meeting that came along. That was my actions as a result of that. I sort of acknowledged that I was in a contracted state. It wasn't very good. It didn't come off powerful. In fact, it came off me being defensive, and that's not a good thing in that particular case, in that particular meeting. So I needed to shift it, change it, turn it, but it wouldn't have shifted. It can also get bigger and magnify. So that fear state can then grow. If we don't turn it around and shift it, then it can grow and magnify and get worse and worse and worse. And yeah, it can get beyond our repair sometimes. And then it becomes all too consuming, and then we completely snap. So the big part of this is the awareness. And that's, for me, there's power in awareness. As soon as you're aware, then you can do something about it. So these kind of like tips, tools, recommendations, encouragements, inquiries are about stopping ourselves and being able to ask ourselves, like, how are we in this moment? So it's the acts of mindfulness, really. So I'm taking the mindfulness thing, but I'm repurposing it and putting it into different language, and then giving some context and some texture around some statements that you can ask yourself in order to be able to quickly shift into a positive position as a result, all right? Rather than let things drag on and get worse and worse and worse and magnify and get into a real fear state before it snaps. How quickly can you shift? How quickly can you pivot in order to be able to get into a positive step? So these kind of things are great statements in order to be able to act as quick things to pivot fast. Yep. All right. We'll speak to you later.